Um, okay, and we're live. Yeah. Ready for order food or I will order in just a moment. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Hey, everybody. As you can tell, I am struggling, scrambling at the last minute to find a location for today's live, which is kind of what happens when you pick up and go. So since I am on the streets of Vienna, let everybody have a little look around. Oh, sorry, Venice. Venice got my. I left Vienna, arrived in Venice, and now I'm here. Um, so I'll be sharing from here all week with shots of the canals and all the cool things. So be sure to stay with me. Click the subscribe button, follow button, whatever is around you to keep you connected with me. I love it, love it. All right, so this is Everyday Magic Live, and what we do here is each week, twice this week, we get together and I share a couple of small seeds that we can plant in the garden of the life that we are creating that's full of vibrant health and happiness and freedom. And then we bring along experts like Tim and Karen, who I'll introduce you to here today, who are interested in and up for and educated on and experts in the nitty gritty, the meaty parts of this caring for our bodies and caring for our lives and making conscious decisions about who we are becoming and how we are creating our lives, right? So, what I'm going to do today, so that I can mute myself and spare us the noise here in Venice, is introduce myself and the topic, and then turn it over to Tim and Karen, and let them take it over from there, right? Okay, so the seed, the small thing that we're doing this week is twofold. So it's one action, but it's two seeds. So what I would invite you to do is look at your schedule, look at your life this week, find one thing that you don't want to do, that you feel responsible for, obligated to, committed to. You said yes when you didn't mean to say yes. Whatever it is, find one thing on your calendar that you can say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to find somebody else to do it. I'm just going to not do it. I'm going to find a way to get this off out of my life and replace it with something that I do want to do. Just one thing. It can be half an hour, it can be half a day, it can be whatever it is. But if you start this process of being empowered to say no, being empowered to manage your schedule and spend your time the way that you want, this creates a time magic where suddenly you have more of it than you did before, right? Okay, so those are your seeds. And then our meaty conversation that we're going to talk about today with Karen and Tim is about um, intermittent fasting or fasting, either one or both, and intuition, which I'm probably going to have to turn my microphone on and hop back in when we get to the intuition part. We'll see. And then metabolic flexibility, which is my favorite. And so to me, metabolic flexibility means that when I have this pizza or pasta that I'm about to have in Venice, my body knows, oh, okay, she's got carbs. We're going to use this. We're going to burn those up. And tomorrow morning, when I've been 12 or 13 hours without having anything at all to eat, my body's going to go, oh, I'm going to go get my meal from your butt, from your belly, from some fat store somewhere on your body. And I can easily switch back and forth among the fuel that is available for my body. Now, of course, Tim and Karen are going to have much more scientific terms and specifics about that. But welcome. Tim is a primal health coach. Karen is the nutrition goddess. And I'm going to mute myself and let you take it over from here and introduce yourselves better, if you will. Good?
Sounds
Morning,
good. Go
everybody.
ahead, Tim.
Well, you probably, if we're going to talk about actual experts, you're more of an expert in some of these things than me. But uh, I just wanted to hit on the time management thing first. So this week, one thing that I'm saying no to is I'm going to say no to the last 3 days of work this week. I'm going to take 3 days off, go to a conference on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday, I'm going to work on just projects with me and my wife. We're working on a little shed we're going to renovate. So I'm taking some time off for myself. How about you, Karen?
Well, now I need to know what you're studying this weekend. What conference are you doing?
This one is actually for my work. It,
Okay.
it's it's about industrial coatings. It sounds boring, but basically paint that can
Oh,
withstand corrosion.
okay. With no VOCs, right? Just shake your head, yes.
That's right. Yep. No, well, we all wear breathing apparatus and everything else and special protection when we're dealing with these chemicals. So yeah.
Right. Maybe down the road we can get into milk paint, but I'm just kidding. That's a wholly different conversation. But yes,
Yeah.
what am I saying no to this week? I don't know. I spend so much time saying no to things. Well, it's not even, I don't even spend a lot of time saying no to things. Instead, I think about what I want to focus on. So I would have to think about, maybe I'll come up with something by the end of this, and then I'll share it then. But I did want to say good morning to Betty Boldbrew of Betty, I forgot the name of your publication. I don't know why it's gone blank, but put it in the text. But anyway, good morning to Robert and good morning to High Powers. I don't know what High Powers is. Oh, good morning, Graham. Thank you for joining us as well. Um, Bold Brew. I don't know why. I'm having a rough morning. Maybe I should say no to going to bed really late. We were up extremely
Oh yeah.
late last night, so I'm a little off. So maybe that could be my no for the rest of the week. I'm usually in bed by 9 p.m.,
Oh
believe
yeah.
it or not, but yes. And just to go back on the expert thing, I am just as much of an expert as you are, Tim. We just have different areas that we focus on. So you are an expert, and so is Lauren. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Yes, Betty, I think I need 3 coffees this morning. All right. So, Lauren, where did you want us to start? She's just giving us a thumbs up.
Start with fasting.
Okay. Fasting.
Oh, fasting. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it was if our main topic is going to be metabolic flexibility, then for sure fasting, I think, is the easiest way to get there, or one of the most time efficient, anyways, because you can switch your food around, and you can develop metabolic flexibility just based on food choices and maybe a little bit of meal timing. But fasting is going to accelerate it. What are your thoughts?
Well, actually, let's start with what is metabolic fasting for those who don't know.
Metabolic flexibility would be
Sorry, yes, metabolic
yeah,
flexibility.
would be the
Betty, add a
ability of
coffee.
of your body to switch back and forth between fuel types and or nutritional types. That's the way
Okay,
I see it.
okay, but explain that. Like, I don't know anything about that. Explain that to me.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, the majority of people, especially in North America, are going to be mostly burning sugar and
Okay.
storing their fat, and of course the protein gets turned into muscles, etc. But in general, their bodies are burning sugar and carbohydrates to create energy.
And where's that coming
And
from?
and that is coming mostly from carbohydrates in the food. If you are not metabolically flexible and you don't eat enough carbohydrates, you can make some from protein as well.
Yeah.
So if um, now if you become able to burn fat as well, then that can get turned into ketones to power your brain. Yeah, and then we always need some carbohydrates, as I understand it, but at any
No,
time
sure.
we can build some carbohydrate, or we can build some sugars from other things in our bodies using what's it called now? I can't remember the
Glycogen?
word. Something neogenesis.
Oh,
Anyways, so
glycogenesis? Glycogen?
glyconeogenesis. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so if we become metabolically flexible, though, then that means that no matter what we eat, we always can fuel our bodies. And if we have a gap, uh, many people eat frequently. They they like to snack a lot, and they're used to just getting food all day long. But if you then don't have food all day, you run out of energy, and that's because if your body can only burn sugar, it doesn't have the backup fuel source, which would be the fat from other areas. So if you're more metabolically flexible and you miss a meal, it's not that big of a deal. You don't crash.
And where
And
did sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Where did this come from? Why do we have this?
That Okay, so now we're getting back to the ancestral part, that we've
Okay.
evolved to be able to go for periods of time without any food, and that only makes sense because um, previous to the last, say, 1,000 years, we wouldn't necessarily have been able to find food every day. So you'd need to be able to go maybe, days and days on end while you're trying to find something worth eating. And I imagine they were eating whatever they could in the meantime, maybe some snails or whatever off the ground, but um,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have necessarily had. There's no grocery stores back in the day to go to. That's the ancestral part that I'm talking about. Back before we could just stop at the local grocery store and pick up whatever.
And before
Definitely no rotisserie
agricultural.
chickens. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And so it would be back even before we started farming. It would be before that as well.
Yeah, probably
Okay.
the majority of our time span as humanity, like 100,000 years previous, to where we're at now. So, and our evolution hasn't caught up with the modern situation. It'll take a long time for our bodies to change. If we ever want it to change to match what we're eating now, it'll be thousands of years of evolution to get to that point.
Right.
What,
Absolutely.
what
Okay,
do you have
so
anything to add?
I stepped into an alley where it's a little bit quieter, so hopefully I can. So this is one of the areas where so our ancestors were eating what was available. So the earth and the seasons and the cycles of nature were doing the job of deciding what we could eat or what we should eat when and when. Whereas now, with everything available, this is where the intuition part becomes very important for us to be intuitive about what our bodies are wanting and not and trying to be back into a cycle of nature and trying to eat in season fruits, which we've talked about before, Karen, in the Why Buy Organic and the Why Buy Local meetings that we had before. So talk about intuition and fasting and how those go together, and the thoughts and feelings and science around sitting with your hunger and letting your body learn something new instead of staying constantly stoked with carbohydrates.
Right, but what I was trying to do was just establish a baseline for those who have joined us to understand. See, you and Tim know that part because that's part of your training. So I just wanted people to understand when you're talking about going into intuition, where did that come from, that it's based in science, and then going back to our ancestral time. So you're absolutely right that we had to move with our food. We were nomadic. We would pick berries. We would pick leaves. I mean, we even ate twigs, for crying out loud, whatever was available until we could get that good hunt. And that was when we would have that flexibility that our bodies innately would, during that feast, we would have that high carbohydrate load sometimes, a lot of it coming from protein, from what Tim said. And so we would be in a state of using that glucose for energy and then storing it, so that when we would actually store it mostly in our liver and then some in our muscle cells. And so that when food was scarce, we would then tap into those converted triglycerides and turn them back to a type of glycogen that our body could then use for fuel. So I just wanted us to understand that part before we go into the intuition part. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, that's a really good summation. And so now on the intuition thing, yes, when your intuition is working good, you can use it. However, a lot of us have a busted intuition and we have to work our way into it because,
Thank
for
you.
instance,
Okay.
myself in specific, my intuition is garbage because of binge eating. I've destroyed my own intuition. It's slowly coming back, but what I have to use is intention. I can't rely on intuition because there's I imagine my mind having about 12 parts to it, and one part is, the part that's going to just want things that are not healthy. So that part is really loud. So my intuition gets drowned out. So I have to use intention. I have to say, uh, I have to think my way through it to a degree. I have to understand and intend to eat the right things, or I will intuitively grab the wrong things because it's very tricky to tell the difference between intuition and cravings. Very
Well,
difficult.
and I want to talk about that because intuition and cravings, I think we even need to define the intuitive part, because you're saying, well, my intuition tells me to eat these junk food. I don't think that that's intuition, because if you were to take intuition to the innate part,
Yep.
the innate is telling you you need blueberries, not a blue slushy. And
Yeah, and
so,
that's true. The problem is to know the difference. That's the tricky part. Sometimes you trick yourself, basically, right?
well, I don't even know if it's a trick. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, there's okay, so our whole entire body has a spiritual component to it, but within that, our whole body as a one is a spiritual being. Then we have different components in our body making up that unison of that spiritual part. So your microbiome, for instance, has its own um, entity, its own intuition. And what it's doing when you are wanting that blue slushy, we'll just stick to that so we don't confuse things. It's actually the bacteria that is changing your chemicals to want that blue slushy. So
Yeah.
that's where the intuition comes in, or the innate that says you really need the blue, you need the blueberries, not the blue slushy. And then that's where we can start looking at the emotional component to why you want that blue slushy. And you're right about the tricking part as well, because the food industry knows that our body is intuitively, this is where the intuition part comes in. Our body intuitively knows we need that blue color because that blue color is full of
Mhm.
antioxidants and polyphenols, right? So, yes, there is that tricking part. So, that's where we really have to go in and ask our body, what do we need? I need those blueberries, but your emotional side is saying, I really need a hug. And so I'm going to have the blue slushies. So I just
But
wanted to
that,
like
yeah,
clear that up a little bit.
that totally makes sense. And where the intention comes in is you have to choose to do that.
Right.
Intuition will not jump up. I think what I'm kind of saying is the common thought of what intuition is it's just going to guide you and you have to do nothing. And it doesn't work like that. You need to use
Right.
No,
intention to get
He
to the
just said it. He
intuition.
just said it. Tim said it. He said it.
it's I know he said it, and that is not what any true intuitive teacher is teaching. It's hard work
No,
to get
no,
back in touch with your intuition, right?
but
So
that's
That's what
that's
Tim
yeah,
not the
said. He said
common
it's
that's
hard.
not the common idea though. The common idea is you just rely on it. You all you have to do is go up, turned on my intuition. I'm ready to go,
that's it. Yeah. So and when you get really good at it, you can totally do that. I do
Yeah.
it all the time.
But the rest
And
of us have to start with the intention and choose to do that, choose to get
and
Correct.
to it.
teach,
Correct.
yeah, reteach your intuition, yeah. And I want to chime in on the tricking yourself part as well, because your body in its wisdom never craves a blue slushy. You've taught it, you've made those
Hmm.
connections in your brain between the comfort and the whatever junk food that it is, and it's up to you to intentionally teach your body a new lesson and go, look, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I steered you wrong. Blue slushies don't mean love at all.
Uh,
Right?
yeah.
And one substance at a time is a brilliant way of doing that. Okay, I love my mashed potatoes. So instead of that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have something different, and I'm gonna go get a kiss from my wife or my child. You know, I'm
You're
gonna
gonna get
say
a
Mashed
what?
something
potatoes. Now
like
you're talking my language.
kisses, kisses, kisses.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Soothe
okay,
all
gotcha,
kinds of
gotcha.
hunger. Yeah, yeah. So okay, carry on. And if you guys don't mind, in the interest of being in Venice, we try to stay at 30 minutes. We're usually over that, but let's try to get as close as we can today so that I can go have my spaghetti bolognese, breaking all the rules. Cool. Okay, so bring us home to how does fasting and intuition and the food choices that we make play into, or carbohydrates are stored in a teeny tiny tank. If we have extra, they get stored as fat. If our bodies only know how to use carbs and we keep giving it carbs, everything keeps getting stored as fat. How do we teach our bodies that we have this whole other tank to draw from, that we don't have to be reliant on carbohydrates for fuel? Go.
I, I think feel like the easiest way to do that is to finish eating fairly early in the day. And I know that it depends culturally. Some places it's totally doesn't work like that. But for for most of the people in North America, if they can avoid eating, say after 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., and then not eat uh, really early in the morning, then they give their bodies a chance to use up the majority of the carbohydrates that are on the go, and start working on some of the fuel stores that they've stacked up. Um, that's a good starting point, and then slowly increase your fasting length a little bit so that you have breakfast a little bit later. What are your thoughts, Karen?
Um, yes. Okay, so I have a lot of different, not, I don't want to say completely different. I just look at it from a different angle because of the type of people that I work with. So, and I also want to say, first off, before you're going to start any type of fasting, always check in with your doctor. Even though doctors don't really know anything about fasting, you still have to check in with them. If you are a, well, I have to say it for nutrition as well. I mean, doctors don't know anything about nutrition, but you still have to
No.
check with your doctor. And I also want, just before we go on, good morning, Gregory. Good morning, Carolyn. And good morning, Maria and Faye. Thank you for joining us. So people who should not fast, pregnant women, please don't fast. Women who have given birth, and like if you're within, especially if you're going to be nursing, so women who are nursing, please don't fast as well. And the reason is, hopefully we'll get into that, but when you are fasting, you are releasing compounds, you're releasing toxins, and one of the places, especially depending on your diet, is that is going to come through the breast milk. So don't do it at all. And if you are diabetic, please don't fast as well. And like seriously, 100%, you need to check with your doctor before you do any type of fasting, especially if you're taking insulins. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there. And I agree with, I think the thing that you can do is first look at your diet and start adding more proteins and fats to your diets, replacing those. Good morning, Robert. Thank you for joining us. So replace your junk foods, replace your sugars slowly by putting in good solid fats, good types of proteins, because you do want to bring that carbohydrate load down. And the reason for that is because once you start fasting, especially if your body is used to burning carbohydrates, it's not going to be able to turn to that fat burning. And you are going to end up with cortisol problems, insulin problems, low blood sugar, and then you're going to have a bunch of symptoms that are going to go with that, lightheadedness, those kinds of things. So I absolutely 100% believe that, yes, if you eat at 7 p.m., let's try and drop it to 6 p.m. and, go until 6 a.m. the next morning. Doing an 8 or 12-hour fast overnight is perfect to start with. And if in that way, at least if you wake up in the morning and you're super, super hungry or you're feeling lightheaded, go ahead and have something, but make sure it's protein or fat. If anything, one of the things you can do, and this is what I've done with people that I've worked with who have diabetes, and it works amazing, is just take a tablespoon of coconut oil, not refined coconut oil, just coconut oil, and just eat it. And what it does is it bypasses the liver and goes right to your brain and just lights you up. And then all of a sudden you start feeling good. You've got that energy back. So if you really do want to try that fasting, and go a little bit longer in the morning, that's one of the tricks that you can do. But I do absolutely agree with you both that, doing that, playing around with your times. And the other reason why I like fasting overnight is because of that, our body clock. We have that split during the day. The first 12 hours we're bringing in, we're doing some assimilating towards the end of the evening. And then from midnight until about 8 o'clock in the morning, actually, it's actually 4 o'clock in the morning, we are then taking all of those nutrients and we are sending them where they're needed in the body for repairing hormones, repairing cells, cleaning out. And then the bottom half is cleaning out. So I really like that time for fasting. And it is something that I recommend to my clients because it is one of the best times to be fasting because you're allowing your body to work on what it's supposed to be doing, and that's cleaning things out. So if you stop eating by 6 p.m. the latest, earlier is even better. And Tim, I actually love to stop eating by 3 p.m. and then not eat until the next morning. But that's
Uh,
just me. And
yeah, that doesn't work for everybody because of our work schedules. It's
right,
pretty hard to fit in a meal at my job, like a full meal.
absolutely.
I can get a good lunch in. I could potentially. That's the thing is I get to work really early, so that sometimes influences when you can fit a fast in.
Okay, what time do you finish? What time do you eat dinner in the evenings?
I try to get home around 5:30, 6 o'clock ish, and I
Okay.
cook and eat right away. And then
Okay, so
yeah,
okay. All right,
that way
so
I can go for a walk afterwards. And
excellent. Did
yeah,
you know that just a 7-minute walk after you eat actually helps with glycogen store and brings your insulin
yeah.
levels down quicker? Okay, so how long do you have for lunch?
Lunch, I have an hour at noon or around an hour. So, and I usually eat something and then try to go for another walk after that too in that hour because I got 10 minutes. I can go burn around a little
Sure.
bit outside.
Have you ever tried eating your dinner for lunch and like
Yes.
swapping it around so that your dinner
So,
is lighter?
yes. And then what happens is because I'm still at work until 5:30, I start falling asleep at about 2 o'clock. I can't eat more than a certain amount, or I just get sluggish and slow every time. And I would consider myself to be metabolically flexible because I have done a keto diet for periods of time, and I've done fasting, and I switch it up a lot. So um,
Okay, but
in
let's go back to that.
yeah,
Can we go back to
go
it just
ahead.
for a minute?
Yeah.
So when you're eating, how much fat are okay? When do you get your slump? Around 3 p.m.? So
Yeah.
you eat at noon, and then when do you have that slump?
It would be probably about 2 hours later.
Okay, so there's something going on there metabolically. I don't know if it's a nutritional deficiency or fat.
He
So that's
he
when you would bring the fat in. And if you have enough fat, you should be able to satiate yourself for at least 3.5 hours. 3.5, 4 hours is when
Okay.
we start to have that energy dip
Karen,
if we're not getting enough fat.
that's not what he said. He said if he eats a big meal at lunch,
Yeah, I
he's
can't
sleeping.
eat
If
more
he
than a
eats
certain
his
amount.
Right. He eats his light meal
Yeah,
at lunch and he doesn't have that slump. So he's
yeah,
figured out how to get himself through the afternoon. And
yeah.
I love you guys so much. And I love this conversation. And I really feel like we should come back to this topic again. And when I'm not standing in the street in Denison, I do apologize that my crazy lifestyle got us in this situation. And I thank you both so much for rearranging your schedules to be here with us. Everybody that's listening, that's watching the replay, stay in touch with me and with Tim and with Karen and ask your questions. We love it. We love delving into the nitty gritty of all of these topics. Some topics more than others. Ask me about intuition. Don't ask me about gluconeogenesis. Right? So we're going to be back here on Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern time, I believe. And I don't remember what our topic is going to be, but we'll share about it and we'll let you know. And remember that one time this week, switch your schedule around so that you don't do something you don't want to do and you put something in its place that feels good to you, that you love. So anything you want to say in Arrivederci, Tim and Karen?
Have a great day.
Nope. Everybody have a great day.
Enjoy your pasta.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah. Bye, guys.